Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Smart Home Collective today. Delighted to be joined by Stu from Stu's Reviews and Jen from The Verge. Hello both, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? Sorry, we're both like, who's going to go first? I'm doing very well, very Christmassy. I'm very excited. Christmas is just around the corner, which probably won't be the case. I don't know when this airs, but hey, happy Christmas, happy holidays, everyone. Happy Hanukkah, happy whatever you celebrate.
Happy New Year, just in case. Just in case.
Happy CES.
So episode 15 is going to be CES focus. So CES is around the corner. I believe 9th to the 12th of Jan. Jen, you'll probably keep me right.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah,
yes, although it goes on for longer than that in my life.
We'll come on to that. That's a good point. So I'm hoping this will go out the week before Christmas, so we can talk about everything on the basis that it'll be before CES. Don't worry about that. So, Stu, I'll come to you first. We've known each other a couple of years now. You were last in episode 4, which I couldn't believe was almost 2 years to the date. Couldn't believe it.
Blink and you miss it.
Was that? Blink and you miss it. Yeah, it's crazy when you think of how fast the time has gone. When you were last on, you were just about to leave your full-time job to go full-time YouTube. How's that going?
Yeah. It's been a completely wild ride for the past year. Anyway, we've been all sorts of places this year. In fact, I can't even remember how many countries we've been to this year with Stu's Reviews, but it's been a bit crazy, really. And I'm glad I made that jump to do YouTube full time and put the eggs in that basket. Really.
I was going to say, was there ever a moment you went, "Bugger, I've messed up here. Maybe I should go back to the old job"?
Every day. and if you don't have that doubt, you're probably not human. You're always going to doubt, and you're always going to think, "Oh, have I made the right decision?" And that's just part of being human, right? You're always going to think about what if, should I do this, should I do that? And there's no right or wrong answer because we're all just walking forward.
In terms of subscribers, so you're on the cusp of 100,000. So well done to that. So 87 and a bit. How much is that jump? I don't know if you know even what the figure is, but in the 2 years since you went full time, was it a nice kind of growth curve that just saw subscribers go through the roof, or did that?
Not really. I mean, I've had a bit of a jump recently because we've kind of focused on putting more content out rather than kind of less content and longer episode type thing. But it's been less growth than I anticipated. But I think if I'm going to be critical, I think most of tech YouTube is down in terms of views. You only need to look at some really big names out there, and you can see actually even they're not pulling the views that they used to. So is it because it's saturated, or is it because with my content, certainly it's very generalized. I cover all areas of tech, just stuff that people find interesting, stuff that I find interesting. But is it because there's more people doing niche content, doubling down on one type of technology? I think so. I mean, I have a lot bigger reception when I do products to do with smart home because I'm part of that community, and less of a reception when I do other things that are outside of that. So it's an interesting one, but I'd say that growth hasn't been quite as rapid as we'd like, but it's growing. It's growing.
Yeah, good. Super. Jennifer Patson, and I'm going to murder your last name, but Jennifer Patson,
Tui.
Because I did murder it.
Yes, it's a good old Irish name, which I got from my American husband. So, yes, that's me. 2E, as in, so on Twitter or X, I'm JP2E, which helps people understand sometimes. But yes,
so I was wondering,
it's a mouthful.
That makes sense. So Jen, you work for The Verge.
I do. Yes, I have been with them for 2 years now. Just around this time last year, I started. This time 2 years ago, I started at The Verge as their first dedicated smart home reviewer. They've obviously covered the smart home and done smart home reviews prior to my joining, but my my beat is specifically smart home. So I review products, I cover the news, I spend a lot of time delving into matter and trends and that type of stuff around the smart home, connected living, and sort of tangential things too, like home energy management, smart kitchen, all those types of things. So the smart home is a large space, but it's been a lot of fun. I've been in the smart home space as a journalist for over a decade. Prior to The Verge, I was freelance with a number of different publications, including The Ambient, Wired, US News, the BBC Science Focus. I did some work for Dwell magazine, and I also write a lot in that home shelter magazine space. I still do, actually, which is kind of an interesting intersection, because I think one of the tensions in the smart home is between design in your home and technology, which they sometimes clash. So that's been kind of a good balance area for me. So yeah, and prior to that, I was a journalist, more broad journalist. I worked in feature writing for newspapers and magazines. Actually started at London's Daily Telegraph newspaper way back a long time ago.
It's a good segue. I was going to save this for later on. So one of the community questions came through was, how do you get your foot in the door as a journalist with what many people generally think you've got the perfect job? Journalism, mainstream media, publication, smart home. Wow. How does a person say, well, I want to get to be writing smart stuff for a main publication? Is the route you started in a random newspaper and just slowly found your way there?
Yeah, well, it was definitely, I would say, random. I mean, because it wasn't a thing really when I started in journalism. So I definitely didn't sort of wake up and be like, I want to be a smart home journalist. But the great thing about journalism is it is so broad. You know, it's a skill set that you can apply to many different topics. And I've always had a passion for technology. And it was more, it kind of came to me because I was really interested in it. So I was doing a lot in the space personally. And then when I started freelancing, when I pitched ideas, I was like, oh, well, this is the sort of things that I think are cool and interesting. So I got to start to write about them as tech publications started to become a thing. They weren't really, there were magazines, there were a lot of PC-based magazines, but, tech outside of computers was relatively, small fry. I mean, there was the Clapper. If anyone remembers the Clapper. So I don't know, in terms of advice though, for getting into smart home now and smart home journalism, I think reviews is really the space that people are interested in. People want to know how these products work and what they can do with them and what's fun with them. That's because that's one of the things I think most people love about the smart home, because you have to have fun as well as the heartache. Using the tech, getting out there, trying it out, putting YouTube videos up, doing social media. That's definitely going to be a route to getting into this type of journalism today. It's very different from my path. I actually first started out working. My very first sort of smart home related work was for the Wirecutter, which I forgot to mention earlier on, which is surprising because that's one of my main, that was one of my first jobs in smart home. And they actually came to me because I'd written some freelance pieces, and I worked for Wirecutter for 5 or 6 years doing smart home reviews, smart thermostats, smart garage door openers, smart sensors, all that. And that was really fun because I got to really get deep into the technology, because the Wirecutter is renowned for really in-depth reviews. So I would spend a long time writing pieces around the smart home space, and I loved it. It was just so much fun. It's so great to be able to follow your passions with your career, and smart home tech is definitely one of my passions.
And I think that's what I think so admirable at times of guys like Stu and some of the other YouTube people, the amount of effort and time they put into really detailed about the product. Now, most people just open a box and say, well, here it is. But some of the guys will go to the nth degree and test it. And it's incredible nowadays. The degree guys will go to test products. It's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I always put in, extra time seeing what they can do. The thing I've always done as well is try and push things a little bit further than they're supposed to go.
Yeah.
Just really, really, really test them a little bit further. And if they fail, they fail.
Yeah, and it's a hard, and I think that's, I mean, because the smart home is a very sort of in-depth space because it's also interconnected as well. So it's not just about how a device works when you put it in front of you, you open it up and use it and it works great, but how does it work with everything else? And how does it interact with different smart home platforms? And I think there's so much confusion there amongst users that journalists and content creators have there's a huge mine of content out there to get into and help people navigate through this this space until it becomes really simple to use one day.
Have you found the balance?
One day.
Obviously, having writing for Dwell, kind of more interior focus. Have you found the balance of smart home integrating nicely with nice interior? Have you has the experience of dabbling in both given you that tact to merge them nicely? Because I still see some videos and pictures of ghastly smart home tech sitting out and tables and cables running everywhere. And you think that's not what it should look like. It needs to integrate seamlessly.
Right. Yes. It's definitely helped inform my coverage for sure. I mean, I will give products definitely lower marks if they don't look good. Obviously, unless they're designed to not be seen. And it's an area I think that's really important to make the smart home move into the mainstream because people, the home is a space that we like to create and make comfortable and somewhere we want to be and enjoy. And if things are sort of plasticky or black, so much black, or there isn't sort of a soft feel that makes your home feel more comfortable to devices, I think that's a downside. I used to say when I first started covering smart home tech, I said, every device I test or review feels like it was designed by a single male who lives in an apartment in San Francisco. Because there was, especially family use cases were very often, and this is not the case today. This was, a decade ago, although in some cases, but there, family use cases were often really not well thought out. And it was like cool tech gadget rather than nice home device. But it's got better. I think Google's made some really good strides in that space. I think Amazon's still a little bit, some of their products work nicely and look better, but some are still just kind of black, big screens. And so, it's interesting space. And the light switches is another area I think that we're beginning to see some interesting movements to kind of make them look nicer in our homes, because too much, again, that was one area I think smart lighting, smart switches were a bit too techy.
I still feel in the UK we're missing that. I still think in the UK we're still missing that. So it's just they're not there.
White.
And they're white. It's still white plastic. And it's one thing that still irritates me is, and this is not to point fingers at Akara, however you want to pronounce it. Everything's white plastic.
Yeah.
Nothing is a nice stainless steel polish effect. It's all white plastic. Which is fine.
The struggle is style, though. This is the problem. Every person has a different style. My style is old. I love the kind of old British, old books, wooden shelves. Nowhere is going to make a walnut door sensor, or a walnut motion sensor. Right? Nowhere is going to do that. But that's my style. And I think the big problem with companies is that to manufacture 8 different styles of a motion sensor, the manufacturing cost would be astronomical. So, which is why they're these kind of blank, soulless white blobs for the most part. And unfortunately, it's one of those ones that I don't know if we'll see ever change because of that fact, unless you have skins or shells or something like that. That would be the solution where. You've got a bit of plastic that's easy to clip on, and that's a cheap manufacturing cost. But it's still a much bigger manufacturing cost than just producing something that's fits all. The white bread, the loaf of white bread.
The vanilla approach.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
and there are and this is where I think, and this is an interesting shift I've seen recently in the smart home, is where the custom integrator side is kind of coming closer to the DIY side. Like, there's a number of companies that cross over. So, for example, Lutron, I mean, they have light switches in every color under the sun to fit into high-end homes in their higher end lines, not in their Caseta DIY line. But I could see, as the DIY space gets larger, which potentially it may do as we have new protocols and standards coming in that are designed to hopefully expand the space, that we may start to see, especially as devices become more commoditized, there's going to need to be more ways to differentiate. And, colors it seems like a simple one, but it's an important one. And there was, I think it was EcoLink, I want to say, they had at one point, they had a number of different colors for their motion sensors and door sensors. And that, I don't know if they're still doing that. But that's all Z-Wave, I believe. But it's not, it's good. Yeah, we need to have more options like that in the smart home. And you're right. I mean, a lot of Aqara stuff is white here in America and the US and England, but I think in China they actually do have more color options. So again, so I think it's an area, again, because this is one of the great things again about covering the smart home too, is it's still such a young space. I like to say to my tech colleagues at the Verge is 10 years old, which is ancient for a tech publication. And I like to correlate the smart home with when the Verge first started and the excitement around smartphones and laptops, and all the tech was new and innovative, whereas 10 years later it's all a little iterative, and they have to do really crazy things to get people's attention, whereas the smart home, every day there's something new and cool coming out. So it's a really exciting space to be covering.
I do think that's the next jump that needs to be more of a consumer interest and rally. Is it needs to be far more customizable to more interior, get away from the white blobs and far more customizable. One of my all-time favorite devices, I'll ping on the screen actually, is this one I sold to my wife quite easily.
That's the spousal approval factor is incredibly important in the smart home. Ooh, look at that. That's pretty.
White blobby, I'd rather have white blobby buttons around the house. IKEA have a nice kind of polished stainless steel with the steer bar. Fantastic. It clips on, this is magnetic, clips onto my lamp of the same color seamlessly. It just looks a little bit different, but it works and integrates far nice into the home, as opposed to just being a big stick of white. So yeah, I think that's where I would like to see the smart home go anyway.
I don't know how we got onto that topic, but anyway, it's a good one. It's an important one. Manufacturers, if you're listening, make your devices look better. I tell you, one company that's doing a really good job there is Tuo. I don't know if any of their devices are in the UK or Europe yet, but it's a very new company, and they have motions. No, so they started with a smart button. That was their first device.
Sorry, how do you spell that?
Pardon?
How do you spell that?
Tuo. Tuo.
Oh, okay.
Like TUI. I hadn't even realized that. I should. But yes, TUO, and then I'm HY, but they don't have that. So they have a motion sensor. No, sorry, I keep calling it a motion sensor. It's a smart button. And it works. There you go, the TUO smart button. And they also just launched a temperature sensor, but all of their devices are quite innovative and have other functions. And if you look, I think, see on the top right there, they have a smart lock coming soon, contact sensors. It's a new company just starting to kind of really ramp up.
Yeah.
Pardon?
They're in the UK as well.
Are they? Yeah, I see that. Pounds. Yeah. So the smart button's great. So you can't tell from the pictures, but it has a really solid feel. It doesn't feel, it's not plasticky. It just feels high end. And if you put it on your wall and use it as a light switch, it would feel a lot more high end than say using an Aqara smart button, which, I love Aqara, but their products don't feel sort of high end. And look, you've got black, yay. Color options. So and so the interesting thing about Tuo is it's entirely matter, so they don't have any sort of direct integrations with any smart home platforms. They decided to go the full matter route, which is one of the few companies that are doing that yet. So but they, as I said, so they have the temperature sensors also out, and I think the smart lock is coming soon, and there's a couple other things that they've got in the works. So, and this one, has Apple HomeKey, it looks like. But again, I don't know if that will be in the UK. I know you guys still don't have any HomeKey smart locks, do you?
No, that I'm aware of. Last I read up on. Yeah, that's always an interesting debate, that, isn't it?
Don't. Always last. Oh.
Right, shall we move on to CES then? Let me just
Okay.
bring this up for CES. So, for those of you who are not aware, CES is the Consumer Technology Association, is the consumer. What does CES actually stand for? Jen, you'll know better than me. Consumer Electronics
Show. But they dropped the full name a while ago, and they've just been CES for a long time. But yes, Consumer Electronics Show was the original name, and then it's now just CES. It's just, it's like Madonna. Been around that long.
So I love CES. It's certainly it's a great forum just to seeing loads of cool tech. Some I don't think you ever see. Some you do see. Some you see years later.
A lot you don't see.
Yeah, a lot you don't see. But it's a great place for some of the big brands to show stuff off. Samsung, Sony, etc. Says never Apple. Funnily enough, Apple never show at CES for some bizarre reason.
Except for that 1 year when they put the big billboard up. That was the only time Apple's ever made a show.
Yeah.
And it was such a big stir, even though they weren't there. Big billboard that was, I think it was what's happens on an iPhone stays on an iPhone or something like that. It was kind of a play
that's
on
right.
the Vegas
Yes.
thing and how private Apple is. It was a nice move.
Yeah. So
but yes, no Apple. Never any Apple.
So it runs from the 9th to the 12th of January. It's only for those in the business, so it's not for the average consumer. Jen, as being a kind of part of the press, you're going?
Yes, this will be my fourth or fifth, which is actually not that many for someone in my realm. There are sort of members of the 15-year club out there, but I didn't start going until 2018, and I would have had a few more years in there, but obviously we had one entirely remote and then one sort of half-baked around the pandemic that we didn't go to. So yes, and a lot of people roll their eyes and like, oh, CES, don't want to do it. I love it. It's like my favorite week of the year. It's so much fun. And,
you're going along obviously for your job. So it's 3 days. However, do you go from a press point of view? Do you go early to get in?
Yeah. So it actually all starts for me on Sunday, which is the 7th. So I arrive on the Saturday, and then they start. They start media events. Monday is like the media day, and then but some stuff will also starts on the Sunday, and then but the main media day is Monday, so they have big press conferences, so those will be streamed so people can tune in and see them. Like Samsung and LG, they do big showy press conferences, and since the pandemic those have all also been live streamed, so anyone can watch them. And then the evening they have something called CES Unveiled, which is like a mini bite-sized version of big CES, all crammed into one room. And the idea there is that all the press just kind of runs around and sees everything that would be in the show in like 2 hours. So it's crazy, and obviously not everything in the show is there, but a lot, and it's kind of a good way of seeing a bite-sized portion of the show. And then when you see press coverage the next day saying this is all the great stuff at CES, and you're like, but the show just opened. That's because they store it all at that little event. But the real fun is at the big show floor, because it's huge. I mean, this thing takes over Vegas, and Vegas is not a small place. It's at many different venues. There are in rooms, big enough to hold like 17 tractors and 5 helicopters. I mean, it's like it's a big thing. Lots of cars. It's a big car show. It's become a big car show as cars have become more tech, very, very tech focused. It's also become a very big smart home show. Just really in the last 2 to 3 years, I would say. Last year in particular, I remember my first year at CES, I had to kind of go into the corner of the Venetian, which is one of the big venues, to find a couple smart home booths. And then last year I walked in, and like the first thing you see was like huge, big smart home area, and the whole of the Venetian basically was all smart home. So it's become a huge smart home show. I remember my colleague who covers TVs. So TVs used to be the big thing. In fact, that's why CES is the first week of January historically, because of TVs. And that was the way TV manufacturers sort of marketed and sold their lines. And they would always launch at CES. So it always had to be in the first week of January. And my colleague who covers TVs messaged the team, was like, I just went to the Samsung booth. This was last year. And he's like, it was really weird. There were hardly any TVs. Do you know what it all was? It was all smart things.
Yeah. Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
I went to the Samsung booth, and it was awesome.
I loved it.
It was good. It was good. Yeah, they had a whole setup, didn't they? Like a big house you walk through almost. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So Stu, you go every year too?
I say I go every. I went last year, and we are supposed to be going this year as well.
Oh,
we are supposed to be
great.
going this year as well.
Good.
So
Yeah.
that'll be nice.
That'll be fun.
But I'm not 100% at the moment, because I've just I was saying to Lee earlier, I've just had my second child.
Congratulations.
A month ago. Thank you very much. Yeah, a month ago. So it depends on how he is nearer the time, but we've got everything booked, so we should be there.
Stu, you went to IFA Berlin, didn't you?
Yes, I did go to IFA.
I did too. Yeah.
Good. Oh, there we are.
That was really fun. I loved IFA.
It was good.
That was really fun.
Yeah, I really liked it. It's a bit more condensed than CES. You know, you can walk around the entire floor in a day. I think with what you were going back about CES, in 2 days last year, I walked 23 miles in 2 days. I think I was 2 inches shorter on the way home.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I don't think I've ever done the whole of CES. I don't think it's even feasibly possible to go to everything in the 4 days that it's 4 days. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this year. And I don't think it's feasibly possible. No way.
No.
You actually get to enjoy it. I mean, and you're obviously there for work, Jen and Stu, obviously you as well. But when you're there, are you enjoying it? Are you taking it on and thinking, "Oh, this is fantastic," or is your mindset right? I need to take as many notes as I can, record whatever I can, footage, etc., etc. How does it feel when you're actually there?
Oh, it's a bit of both. I think you always kind of keep in your mind, "Oh, I need to do this, I need to do that," but you can't help. You know, if you're walking past something and you think, "What is that?" You can't help but walk over and go, "Oh, this is incredible," and have a play. I remember last year it was a company showing off wireless electricity, and I thought, bloody hell, it's the first time I'd seen it. It was coming from a little beacon above them, powering a little railway train. What was the company? Whitricity?
WeCharge. WeCharge.
That's the one. I was close. Whitricity.
It's either we or Y, and they always correct me because I always say it wrong. So I'm just going to say them both: WeCharge or WeCharge.
Well, it's probably Y because of wireless, isn't it? So I should probably stop saying WeCharge. I've been conditioned by Nintendo. WeCharge.
I think that's where it comes from. You're right. Thank you. I've been trying to figure that out. Yes.
but no. So the WeCharge, that was really cool. Just seeing that, wireless electricity beamed to a light bulb, a little model railway set, all of this being powered by a beacon above it. You think, whoa, and stuff like that. That's the fun stuff. So it's a good mix for me anyway. It was a mix of get your head down, do what you need to do, but you're going to get drawn in by some of the wow moments.
Yeah.
I actually have that WeCharge transmitter in my house right now. I'm about to get it installed because they're working with a smart door lock, and I'm going to be testing out a wirelessly charged smart door lock by a company called Alfred. I know. I was so excited.
Yes, Jen's house.
Yeah. Oh, to say I'm not envious would be a terrible lie. So, wow, that's cool. You'll have to let me know how that is.
Yeah, I mean, wireless power in the smart home just does make a lot of sense. I think wireless power has been something that's it's a solution that's been looking for its problem for a while, because so many things in the home are just plugged in. So it's not really necessary. But as the smart home becomes more, as there's more and more devices that we're using in our homes that are battery powered. I mean, can you imagine if you could have wireless charging for all your sensors and your door locks, and even for like smart displays and things, if you could do something a little more powerful so that you wouldn't have to always have wiring in your walls and all that kind of stuff. Shades.
That's a dream. A dream.
Smart shades.
Yeah.
There's so much that you could do with it. I mean, right now, I think there's always a lot of focus on how we can wirelessly charge our mobile phones and our Bluetooth headsets and those kind of earbuds and those kind of things. But I think the smart home is really where the space is. So WeCharge also does also does electric toothbrush. So they have an electric toothbrush
clever.
that you can charge wirelessly. So that's another, especially in the UK, because the UK you can't have outlets in the bathroom, right?
No.
Right.
Well, you can have a shaver outlet, but
a shaver
not
outlet.
Yeah.
So there's so many use cases for that in the smart home. And that's the thing. You're walking around CES, you'll see the weirdest things, but also really cool, interesting things. And it runs the gamut. There's always something crazy. I remember one year there was the toilet roll robot. That was kind of fun. But companies do come up with really outlandish stuff that they know they're never ever going to make, but it gets them the headlines.
Yes. Yeah.
What I remember from last year was the thing was in your toilet. You pee on it, and it tells you all that you're peeing.
Why
the with
things?
things.
All the with things, all the we things.
Why
These
things?
companies
We
with
things.
the WIs.
Wee things.
What is it with them?
Yeah. Okay.
It's we. That one is we things.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that. See, mine's a new one entirely. Mine's withings. I don't even say the E or the I. Withings. Deary me.
Yeah, that one was a fun one. I think we'll probably see a lot more of that. So there's that real intersection between tech and wellness. That's becoming a big movement at CES. You've seen a lot more of that. So that, and wearables as well, I think, is another space that's sort of big in the smart home. I mean, in the CES space, that's kind of pushing the TVs and stuff out the window. Although the TVs are still there, don't worry, there'll still be, I'm sure, a giant TV from Samsung and lots of OLED screens and and AI. I'm sure there'll be AI at every single booth.
Oh god!
Going to the schedule, like you can't get away from the fact that AI is mentioned so many times on day one, and I think when I looked at some of day two schedule, AI is there again.
It's just I hate it.
Like, but why?
It's like Web3. It's just a buzzword that just people throw into things these days just to get people going, oh, let's find out more about that because it's on trend. It annoys me. It really annoys me.
Well, and what you're showing there is all of the conference stuff. So CES is a conference as well as a sort of exhibition hall. So when you sign up, you can sign up to go and attend all these different talks and conferences. And there are always really interesting ones, interesting people talking about different trends in technology. I never get time to go to any of them though, but I wish I did. I'm always, because there's just so much to see on the show floor. God. I know. But yeah, and then that first day with the press conferences, I think both Samsung and LG have, I think, if I can't remember off the top of my head, but I could look it up. Both of their press conferences have been announced and they're both all focused on AI. Yeah. So it's going to be the thing for sure.
So the question I was going to ask was, well, it's not really a question. It was a kind of a thought process I was going through as I was looking at the conference schedule, etc. They seem to be adding on AI to everything. It was televisions and AI, VR and AI, EVs and AI. Are we in a space now? Is it total gimmicky where people are just throwing AI onto anything and hoping it sticks? Or is it actually, is it too early in the technology space where actually AI can be integrated well to enhance a product? Or is this right now let's just stick it on because we can?
It's a bolt-on. People are just throwing it around. In my opinion, look, I'm sure there's plenty of people who will disagree, but in my opinion, it really is just a buzzword that people are adding in. Hell, I've got these. Where are these? Where have they gone? There we are. Look, I've got these at the moment. I'm trying these out. These have got AI. These have got AI. They're glasses. the bird feeder I've got just on the wall, just out here, has AI in it. I was emailing someone who wanted to send me a pair of headphones where the headphone case has AI built into it. And I can't, come on, what? Even if it does have AI built into it, why do I need a headphone case with AI? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
What, you know?
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think you're right. I mean, it's a buzzword that everyone is a bandwagon that people are jumping on. Although, you know, in the smart home, we've had AI to some extent for a very long time in terms of machine learning, is, you know, something that has really helped power the smart home and push it forward. So it's like we're kind of seeing the rest of the world kind of catch up. But obviously, the new form of AI with the large language models and the generative AI does have this huge potential. But, you know, every time a company comes out with a press release with AI, you know, you've always got to dig down and be like, okay, really?
Yeah.
Because the chances are this is not what you think you're not telling us what really is going on here. But in terms of the smart home, there is so much I think that AI is going to help with. It's going to significantly streamline the whole process of using and setting up the smart homes, particularly I think when it comes to routines and automations.
Yes.
You know, companies are going to be able to like present us options that are sort of ready to go without us having to pre-program everything ourselves, making it so much easier for everyone to use the smart home rather than just you know, us bona fide tech geeks. But yes, it's a buzzword at the moment, and it's, you know, always take it with a pinch of salt and really, you know, look and see what it is that it's adding, what the benefit here is. And generally it's that machine learning and that ability to create something that's going to be more useful than a version without this technology. I'm very interested in how your headphone case uses AI, though. I would love to know.
I didn't even look into it. I think I saw it and I just shook my head in despair. I didn't look into it too much. I will look into it though. Yeah, God. Never mind. I think you're right. I think it really does have big implications, especially in the smart home industry. I'm most looking forward to seeing it kind of going one step further. Is more the kind of conversational aspect that it can bring to your smart home. You know, because at the moment, you know, you've got things like, you know, Amazon Echo devices, which are very reactive to what you say to them. You know, they're not very proactive, but it'd be great to see kind of this AI and, you know, LLMs built into to these devices that can be then proactive and have conversation with you. That's what excites me the most about the potential.
Yeah, and could LLM and AI for the smart home space be more of what we've been missing? The living and breathing house that knows more about you, more about your habits, routines, and start to do things without you prompting it. So your automations right now are set based on times or sunset. But actually, your home starts to change your automations based on knowing when you're home, knowing when you get up, knowing when you turn lights on. So the lights are on even before you have to think about it, because it knows, well, Stu's going to be down at 6 a.m. for breakfast. I'll put the light on for him.
Oh, I was just showing Lee the AI headphones. I dug out the link for them.
Ah, okay. Oh, so it has a little screen.
So yeah, we're trying to discern what makes these AI so that they're powered by ChatGPT, apparently.
So maybe that's like the more conversation, like we were talking about, the more conversational element. So is it going to be a little easier? So one of the things I'm excited about when it comes to using sort of this conversational AI is not having to use such the correct nomenclature every time you ask your smart assistant to do something in your house.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, because that's a huge pain point. I mean, if I can't get it right half the time, no one in my family is ever going to get it right. So yeah, having the ability to, but I mean, what are you going to be asking your headphones exactly? Is it like turn on the noise?
Well, apparently how to cook your pizza, according to that. Look.
Okay. Right.
I was just
so this is kind of like a little mini phone type device.
It is. It looks like a mini phone, but why would you need a mini phone when you've got your phone in your pocket?
Well, do you know what's going to happen? We're probably going to go through a cycle where everybody jams in ChatGPT into products because it's the new hotness. Rather than saying I like your Apple, whatever it is, I'm just going to add ChatGPT to glasses, and therefore you can ask your glasses to cook a pizza.
I would like to be able to ask my glasses to cook a pizza, but I feel like there's a few steps missing in between.
Yeah.
Oh, but language translation. Now that's something I would love. Oh, oh, that's now interesting. So it translates on the headphone case. But again, couldn't you just use your phone?
And your phone.
Yeah. Here's the problem: it's going to be likely connected to your phone anyway, right? Because I don't think it has onboard
Right.
storage, according to the spec sheet. Anyway, I might be wrong. System, I don't know.
Oh, I
connection.
know.
Doesn't
See,
say
you
anything
can.
about-
It looks like it can have its own SIM card, so you have another subscription.
Yeah,
Oh.
4G.
So yeah.
Tablet, you're right. Tablet, your phone, so it can be 4G.
Well, in a way, I mean, it says here there's like a store where you can have Apple Music, Spotify, that kind of thing. So if you have got a connection, then it does. I guess it does mean like you're carrying a very small phone with you. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like small phones. I feel like they've got too big. But I wonder what the battery life on this would be with a screen and that size. That would be a concern.
Half an hour. Half an hour. At most, I think.
Yeah. So can you buy these now then? These are out now. Looks like they just
Are they add to cart? Oh yeah, they are, I think.
cool.
Oh no, yeah, ship by 20th. Yeah, they are now.
Yeah. And Stu, you're reviewing these, or you said?
Maybe, I don't know. I think someone sent me an email about them, but we'll see. I don't know. I've got a very favourable opinion on the inclusion of AI into products, so I don't know. Might leave that one.
Yeah, it's is it 3D for TVs, or is this is it streaming? Which way are we going to go? And I think we'll learn a lot. I think we're going to learn a lot at CES this year about like how viable it is in these products now. I mean, obviously AI isn't going anywhere. It's going to take over the world, so we have to be prepared for that. But there are definitely areas where it's going to be incredibly useful, and then there are going to be places where it's been used entirely gimmicky and to like jack up prices. So buyer beware, and that's why you have valuable resources like Stu's reviews and the Verge to help steer you the right way.
100%. Look at that. Oh, you've done this before. Oh god.
Moving on from AI then. So given you guys did CES last year, was there any tech, smart home related or not, that you saw last year that you want to see again this year or more of? What would you love to see this year or expect to see? Jen, I'll come to you first.
I think we've hit the nail on the head. I was going to say you've already mentioned AI.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think, I feel that this is not going to be a hardware heavy CES. I think it's going to be a much stronger focus on software and like what the smart home software can do with your devices to make the smart home a better experience. We know we've had a slew of new products in the last few years. Many categories are kind of getting overstuffed with especially like security cameras, which use AI heavily. There's a lot of products out there. So now I think we sort of need a regrouping in a way of helping us use these products better. And that's where AI and LLM and generative AI, this is where the software, not for us as a user, we don't need a new Echo speaker with an AI tag on it. What we need is for Amazon and Google to put this technology to use behind the scenes to create better experiences for us. And, Google's already doing it with its new scripting program that you can use on the web, which now has an AI feature. So you can just sort of use common language to say, I want you to set up a routine that's going to open my shades and turn my lights on and lock my door and do all of this at 6 o'clock every other day. And it can set it up for you. And things like those, those kind of features, I think we're going to see more and more of. Whether we'll get them at CES or whether people will just be talking about them, because CES is all about bling and flash and hardware. So it's going to be, and big promises. It's going to be interesting to sort of see how they balance that. But there'll be new hardware too. I mean, one thing I saw last year, and this is really minor, but I'm really excited about, was GE Sync, who I don't know if their products are in Europe. But so this used to be GE Lighting. Many years ago. In fact, my very first smart bulbs were from GE Lighting 10 years ago. Worked with the Wink Hub. RIP.
I remember that, yeah.
It's still around, but someone's using one. But it used, so I saw this product at last year's CES. And one of my pro tip for anyone that's going to CES, when they announce, when you go to a booth and they're like, here's our cool new stuff, and you're like, okay, and you check out their cool new stuff, but then you kind of look around the curtain or under the counter and be like, what you got down there? Because this is how I found something last year, which I'm guessing we may hear about this year, because I was hoping we'd have already heard, which is new under cabinet lighting from GE Sync. So I actually wrote about what I saw last year on the Verge, and it was so they're actually, so if you've ever tried to set up under cabinet lighting in your smart home, it's actually not that easy to do. Unless you are going to plug it in, and there aren't that many plugs in a kitchen that you want to dedicate to light strips. You have to hardwire mostly. So you can connect something to a smart switch, that works, but then normally you're just going to have one color of lighting. And that's not fun. Smart home lighting, I want pink in my living room and my kitchen. So and so you can obviously use, so what I saw were these really neat panels of LED. So they weren't light strips. That's the other downside of light strips, is that pinpoint light that you get is not, it can be a bit harsh. And they had these really cool panels, so that plug in and wire in, and had some really innovative features so that you weren't going to end up having to like cut light strips. You could fit things to the right space under your cabinets.
Underneath the cabinet and kind of
underneath the cabinet, right, yes. Okay. I will shoot you over the link for the piece that I took some pictures of it. But yeah, I wouldn't, that those kind of like use cases that we still need to address in the smart home. I think I'd like to see more products around that. And GE Sync's products they have a huge amount of smart lights out there, and they did promise they were going to have Matter support last year, which hasn't materialized yet. But I'd hope to see those, because I just redid my kitchen and I couldn't find a way. I have Hue lights most of my house, and I couldn't find a way to make Hue lights work properly in the space that I had, because you can't hardwire them. You can only plug them in. So I ended up wiring just a regular LED light strip to an Aqara smart switch. And that's worked for control, but I don't have my nice ambient lighting or any kind of circadian lighting, or I can't turn it pink or blue. So yeah, those, and I think I'm hoping we'll see, a few more kind of fun gadgets like that fit a nice niche use case in the smart home. I'd like to see some more smart door locks. I feel like there's still a lot of room for improvement in smart lock space. So I'm expecting to see some of those out there this year. What else? I'd like to see more ambient sensing. I think, motion sensors and presence sensors and Wi-Fi sensing, radar sensing, there's so much potential in this space to make our homes much more ambiently intelligent, as opposed to sticking little white boxes everywhere. As good as, Hue motion sensors and such are, I don't like having devices around my house like that. I want it to all sort of be seamless, going back to what we talked about at the beginning. And so I'd like to see more advancements there. And yeah, what about you, Stu? Is there anything on your wish list?
No, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Really, I can't add much more to that. I just want to see some solutions to problems that I didn't know I had a problem with. That's the best kind of tech, right? Where you see something, you think, "Oh my god, that makes it so much easier. I didn't realize I even had a problem with that." So I'm excited to see what's there. I think with the smart lock thing, though, I don't know. I still think there's a lot of consumer apprehension around smart locks.
Well, now that's interesting. Baby tech is an interesting space. It's an area I'm very dubious of, but there is so much out there, and that's something you'll see a lot at CES too.
I just don't think there's a market for it. True, there is a lot. There was a lot at IFA as well from companies like EasyViz and stuff, but I just think that there's not a market for it, and the reason for it is because a lot of this tech relies on your Wi-Fi network. It relies on you having a stable connection at all times, and that was the biggest decision maker in my own purchase when I had my first child of what smart monitors to get. I needed ones that had a direct connection
Ooh,
to
what
a
did you
unit.
get? Yeah.
Oh, it was actually it was an not an Anchor. What's the Eufy? It was a Eufy Space Cam. It was one that had a direct connection to their little monitor. With no Wi-Fi at all. It wasn't that it didn't have Wi-Fi, that wasn't a factor, but it was one that had direct connection to the monitor. No Wi-Fi network needed, so that if we have a power cut, because I mean, being out here in the middle of Wales, we're prone to power cuts. We've had one today.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, all the time. I'm surprised I haven't had one right now, but but it's that whole thing of do you know what? Like I don't want to rely on my network. I need to know that I've got a direct connection to whatever's going on. And I think a lot of the smart home solutions for baby monitoring and baby tech and toddlers and stuff, I just don't think have that reliability.
Yeah.
And if you take out the smart home element, if you take out the Wi-Fi or the connected element, you're taking out the smart home element. So they're no longer a smart device, no longer a smart home device. So I mean, that's my personal opinion. But again,
we get pitched on baby tech all the time, and we're just like, there's so much. I mean, as a mum, I had babies pre iPads, really. And it was there was very little out there that was useful. I mean, video monitors were just becoming a thing, and they were terrible, but they actually give you more anxiety, I think. Because you like, oh yeah, I have to look now. I have to watch all night.
It's true. They're true. Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting to see the difference today. I mean, there's a little Owlet sock thing. I think they stopped making that though, because they had some recalls. But you put a sock on the baby and it would.
Our first one.
You did? Okay. Was it good?
We did, and it was. But to your point, you were drowned in useless data about your baby that you didn't need or want to know, and therefore just made you panic.
Right. Over quantification. It's a major danger with smart tech.
Too much data, heart rate, blood pressure, sleeping, you name it, and it was far too much. So we decided to bin it.
I imagine, like, if you had a high risk baby or something, there's obviously a lot of benefits. But for your regular healthy babies, it's maybe, as you say, might be adding too much stress. Yeah. Sorry, we lost you there, Lee. We just kept going on our own.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, for some reason my internet completely just dropped, so I got kicked out of the studio. Thanks for holding fort. Right. Final point before we go on, and Jen, you did touch on it when you were talking about your smart home likes of CES. Matter. Now, there was a Matter exhibition last year CES. I am still yet to be convinced about Matter. I'm not fully on board with it and what it's trying to sell is. Do you think it'll make another appearance this year to try and keep itself in the forefront of this is what's going to lead the smart home of the future?
So, okay, I'll start. So I think one of Matter's biggest problems was that it made a bit too much of a big splash in the last few CESs. I think it actually would behoove it to be more behind the scenes, because really that is the point of Matter, is the behind the scenes. It's more to make things work smoothly, like to be the swan, but with the big legs going underneath that you don't see. It's doing all the work, but it should look really smooth and great and easy on top for everyone else. And right now, because Matter has been very overhyped, looks like it's failed. I don't know that it has. I don't think it has failed. I think Matter has a lot of potential. I think we needed something like this, but I think there are a lot of promises that Matter has made. Yeah. Whether CSA made them, whether companies that are making devices made them, or whether it was just the kind of whole, excitement that generated this sort of overhype. There has been letdown from it, and I think it would behoove Matter to sort of seem slightly more background and have more the companies that are actually using it. If they are, I'm expecting we will see a lot of Matter announcements this year. Yep. We've got all the new categories that came with 1.2. So this is the time that these appliance manufacturers, I mean, people like Whirlpool and Roborock and Ecovacs, they're all at CES this year. So whether, I would expect that we will see announcements about supporting their products, like robo vacuums are now in Matter, appliances are now in Matter. So I think we'll see announcements around that, but it's going to be really interesting to see whether it's, we have one product that works with Matter, or we're making our entire line work with Matter. And, because that little dipping the toe in doesn't really do anyone any good, because that's not the point. Matter is supposed to be this universal protocol that everything communicates on, and if only one of your devices does, it's sort of shooting itself in the foot. So I'm interested to see, how much. I mean, last year Matter was everywhere. There wasn't actually like a booth, but it was in every booth. Every smart home booth had some kind of Matter logo, or they were talking about what they were doing with Matter, and
a little placard that said, "We're working on it." It was.
Yeah, that was really kind of the symbol of 2023. We're working on it one day. What do you think about it, Stu?
Yeah, Stu, what's your thoughts?
Is it? I mean, God, I'm going to sound like a right pessimist in this episode. Really, am. Jesus, I don't know. I think I kind of what you said. Really, it's been very much overhyped. What annoys me the most is where you have manufacturers that, as you say, have dipped their toe in it and yet produce a ton of other gadgets that just aren't supported by it. And you think, how is that easy for Joe Bloggs walking down the street? It's at the end of the day, they need to make smart homes appeal to everyone. It has to be accessible, and it just isn't in its current state. And it's just made it more confusing, in my opinion. It's made it even more confusing because no longer have I now got a logo that says works with Apple, works with Amazon, works with Google. I've got this works with Matter. What's Matter? What is this? It's just another logo that just adds to the entire. And you look at a packet of a Miros plug, and you think, will this work with what I want it to work with? I don't know anymore. I just, yeah. I get it. I love it. I love the idea of it. We'll leave it at that. Idea only.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the big challenge, and that was the one thing that Matter really was supposed to try and do this year, was raise that consumer awareness to make it clearer to consumers what to use. And in fact, I just saw a colleague in the space post something. He was at Costco, which is. You guys have Costco?
We do, of course.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. We do.
He found Matter light bulbs and a couple other Matter things in Costco, and it's like, whoa, Matter in the wild! This is so exciting. So, and the CSA did launch a kind of retail campaign a few months ago to kind of help educate the shops to then educate the consumers. So it'll get there. It's a long process. It's a big shift. I mean, it's like Wi-Fi. I remember when I moved to the States 20 years ago, going to a Best Buy. I think it was a Best Buy. I don't know if Best Buy existed 20 years ago, and I bought myself a laptop because I was about to live in the middle of Idaho where there's no anything, just about power. And bought myself a laptop, and I was like, do I need Wi-Fi? What is this Wi-Fi thing? It's expensive. Do I need Wi-Fi on my laptop? Yeah. Yes, I'm that old. But I feel like that is where Matter is now. Like, it's like, is this something I need to spend more money on? What benefit is it going to give me? But eventually, it's going to be ubiquitous.
Yeah. And it's not
going to be a while.
Yeah, and the CSA, they've clearly invested the time and effort and resources into pushing it. So it's not going anywhere. It's just going to take time to get it to where the promised land is.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things, kind of what you said, Jen. It shouldn't be at the forefront. This shouldn't be a branding that is told to consumers. It should just be the kind of puppet master behind pulling all the strings and pulling everything together, making everything dance. It should not be something that's visible, because Joe Bloggs doesn't. You look at my parents, or you look at anyone who has got any inkling of a smart home, maybe the early days of one, maybe they bought an Amazon Echo device, their first Echo device, because they want to listen to Spotify. All they're going to do is go on Amazon and go on Google and type in, does this light bulb work with my Amazon Echo? They're not going to type in Matter-enabled light bulb. None of them. My parents wouldn't have a clue that even exists. the point is they shouldn't have to type in that. Should be able to type in smart light bulb, and it gives a smart light bulb that immediately works with everything they've got. Google, Amazon, and it should all be invisible. And I think it's been the fact you've been saying, look, they've made a big push to educate people. Why? It shouldn't that you're wasting time, money, energy, resources. Just focus on getting the job done. Do what it's supposed to do. Instead of telling everyone about it. Well, oh God. It's like me getting out there now, standing in the middle of the street and telling everyone how rich I am. I'm really rich. I'm really rich. When I'm not rich at all. Instead, I could be in here actually trying to get rich. It doesn't make sense. I don't know. I mean, that's a terrible analogy, probably.
That's a fantastic analogy. I'm going to keep that one.
It's all very well shouting about the fact I'm rich, but I'm not actually rich. I need to come in here and work to get rich. So yeah, it's again a sore spot for me is matter. And I to be honest, I rarely talk about it in my content, because I do try and aim my content towards a more broader appeal. An audience who wants to be interested in this kind of thing, but you go too far into it. You go into stuff that should be behind the scenes, like matter, and I just don't think it interests people. I don't think it interests the general public. Again, that's the way I see it personally, but yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and it really, I mean, that is the point. Ultimately, is to get matter to be just like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, pretty straightforward, and everyone knows it, and it makes it easy to use devices. I think the problem we have, and I think the problem that Wi-Fi and Bluetooth had all those eons ago, and Bluetooth still has, is the companies so they were all on board and they were all excited about it because it was going to help and it was going to make them extra money, more money, and now they're like, oh well, it's here, but now we're not. Well, okay, but maybe it's meaning if I do this, then that means my competitors can do this. So maybe I'm not going to let them do this. And we've got this kind of shuffling of trying to get into pole position with this technology that's going to make everyone want to buy smart home gear, which in big air quotes. So everyone's shuffling to sort of be in the lead, and we're not all playing well together, which was the whole point of matter, was to make everyone play well together, because matter as a core concept works, but when you try and start using the multi-admin or trying, you take it to the next level. One of the big promises of matter being that you can use this with multiple platforms at the same time. That's when it all starts to fall apart. And I don't think that is the CSA's fault specifically. I think it's also because of the way the companies work together. But you've got to remember the CSA is run by the companies. I mean, that's how it all. So it's a chicken and egg situation, and they've got to just.
Zigbee was a protocol that was open enough. One Zigbee device could be used with others, and they all chopped and changed different the Zigbees that you can't use a Philips Hue with I don't know another Zigbee device because they chose that way. It's all happening the same in matter.
We don't learn from our mistakes. Wait, yes.
Time moving on. So we'll wrap up with two mystery questions. Mystery questions always get
I've been up all night worried about these.
I tell you. Oh, I would be too.
Oh, sorry, Lee. My connection's going a bit funny. I think I might have.
So, Stu, I'll come to you first because you're familiar with these. You were subject to it 2 years ago.
What was the last one? Who would win a fight, me or Paul or something? Was it? I can't remember.
I need to go back to episode 4 and see what it was, but it's too long ago. So, I'll give you a couple of seconds to digest the question and come back with an answer. So, Stu, you've recently had, well, not you, but your wife has had a baby. Give me a smart home device that would make changing nappies easier.
I've looked, Lee. I've looked.
Make it up.
Make it up. There is no safe possible method to change it. Do you know what though? Like saying that, the new Tesla Optimus robots, God, if they come out, they'd be great. They can nanny your baby, go and take it off. The problem is, how much trust do you put in a machine to change your tiny little baby? Honestly, I have searched. I have even tried to rack my brain about how I could possibly make something myself that would do it, but there is no. But you could maybe make a machine that had sort of dissolvable nappies that you just dunk your baby and it like dissolve the nappy and everything in it, and then I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I want to dissolve the
No, not dissolve the baby. Did I say dissolve the baby? No, just the nappy. A special
Do they not
solution
make
for just
smart diaper pails yet, or smart nappy bins? What do you call them in England now?
nappy bin,
There
I
must-
guess.
Nappy bins.
Yeah.
There must be a smart one
Yeah.
now. I used to have one that was kind of like you pushed the handle and
So
it made it go
yeah,
away.
So I'm sure Xiaomi do one where it self-seals and the bag kind of ties itself.
Nice. I
That's
feel like
good.
robot vacuums have an in here. There might be some kind of like those disposable bases for robot vacuums. Maybe they could turn one into like a nappy disposal. But
Oh yeah, but nappy bins stink. Oh,
Yes.
so there's nothing worse. The nappy bins. If you've never smelt a nappy bin, listeners and viewers, don't. You
Diapers.
don't want to.
Diapers
It
if
is
you're in
the
America.
worst smell. Yeah,
The
diaper.
diaper
It is,
in
it
your
is the
diaper.
worst smell. The worst smell you could possibly think of. Good lord.
Rose TE would
Oh.
like to talk to Jen.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry.
Somebody
So
did
this
it.
is it's one of my favorite new features.
The house was announcing your phone call.
Yes,
good.
isn't it cool?
Alexa, how are you doing there?
That's through Alexa. And it's really handy, except for when you're in the middle of a podcast recording. I thought I had
Oh.
everything turned on Do Not Disturb.
Just do that'll be a US only thing. Don't worry about it.
It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
good.
Mine can't do that.
So it's through your phone carrier. So yeah, it's through Verizon. I don't know if Orange or Vodafone. Vodafone might have. Is it?
Yeah,
Vodafone
you
and
can actually
E
you
and-
can connect certain networks to them.
Yeah.
I'm on 3, and unfortunately, 3 are the last to do anything. So I haven't yet used any of that, which is annoying. Yeah, because I think if you're on Vodafone or O2, I think it is. you
I'm O2.
can-
I I'm O2. I might
I
check it out. then.
think check
Okay.
it out. It might be Vodafone and EE. I probably
It does
promised
cost.
too much now.
You do have to pay.
Do
I
you?
don't know. It's like $2 a month or something.
No.
I haven't checked. It's not. Yeah, it's not too much. But yeah, every single Echo device in my house will announce when someone's calling me, and it will say like, so and so is trying to reach Jennifer Tui, and I think you can set it up for everyone in your house too. I haven't done that; it's just for me, but it's quite handy.
Warning to anyone having affairs or trying to keep something
Yes.
secret.
No secrets in this
Your
house.
boyfriend
Oh
is
no,
calling
no.
you. Stuart, your
cannot keep a
girlfriend is
secret.
calling you. No.
That's the great thing about smart home. No secrets in your smart home.
None at all. None at
So
all.
Stu, for your mystery question, basically you've told us from now on, changing nappies still manual.
It's never going to change. Unfortunately.
But there is a
Jen-
good idea for someone out there to go and try and
Yeah.
come up with it.
Good luck
Jen-
getting that through regulations and approval. Good lord.
Funnily enough, when I came up with your question yesterday, we've already touched on it today, which I thought was quite spooky. So typically the US can often see smart home devices before the rest of the world, specifically the UK. We're always left behind. So
That's why I can never move home.
that's true.
Mm.
So can you tell me why Scotland should be the first place in the world to get smart home devices before anybody else?
Why Scotland? in
Where's
particular?
Scotland? Yes.
Scotland in particular and Wales last.
Sorry.
Why should
Excuse me.
Scotland? Well, because it has the best tennis player anyone's ever seen. Because I'm the hugest Andy Murray fan in the world, so that's why. Because it gave the world Andy Murray, so it
Gave the world Andy
deserves
Murray.
the smart home
you go.
devices.
So Amazon wise, listen up. Andy Murray is the Scottish ambassador for smart.
I think that's a great idea. And if he needs someone to help him, I'm here for him.
I can just see a Karen Phillips here on his shirt when he's playing tennis. Oh, thank you.
I'd love to see that.
Sponsored by Cara.
Going back, Aaron. Oh, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's went by far too quickly. To the viewers and
It's been a
listeners,
lot
if
of
you
fun.
enjoyed this show, subscribe, like, download, tickle the little bell for notifications. Stu, where can people find you?
Stu's Reviews on YouTube or Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it.
And
Oh,
Jen,
yeah, and
where-
you guys have Threads now. Yay. It
yes,
just launched in
No,
EU
no, we
today,
don't.
no?
No,
I missed you.
Just
no. What's
today.
Threads? No, I don't know what Threads is.
Okay, okay.
No, you're not a fan.
No,
fan.
no. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh God, I sound like a right pessimist in this episode. Good Lord.
Grumpy old man.
Look, let's
Making you feel
reconvene in
right at
another 2
home.
years. Oh God, I'm so sorry.
And Jen, where can people find you?
So yes, you can find my writing at theverge.com, and I'm also on the X. I'm JP2E, and on the Threads as Smart Home Mama. Because I was already on Instagram personally as JP2E, and you can't. It's very annoying. You can't like switch your profile. So I created a new one there. So that's where you can find me. But theverge.com is the place to find all of my work, and occasionally I'll pop up on a video on TikTok from The Verge. So keep an eye out for there. I'm trying to teach an old dog new tricks here. All this newfangled video stuff. So I hope I did all right on YouTube today. YouTube.